It's finally summer again here in Australia, which means it's time to brew some crisp, refreshing summer classics. And by massive popular demand, one of the most requested beers on this channel for about 3 years now has been a German Kölsch. So it's about time we actually make you guys one. Let's not beat around the bush here, let's get stuck straight into it so we can show you exactly how we made this delicious German summer beer. The grain bill for this Kölsch is going to be relatively simple. We are just going to be running with 85% of our grain bill being Bohemian Pilsner malt. This is the one malt that I think matters the most. Using a good quality German style of grain is what's going to make or break this German style of beer. 10% is going to be Vienna malt. I'm using Gladfield's variety, but if you can get a more Vienna or more traditional variety, I think that would be ideal here. And the last 5% is just going to be Gladiator malt, aka dextrin malt, and that's purely for a little bit of extra head retention at the end of this, a little bit of extra body, and just really making sure we're getting some nice lacing on the glass. Now, let's see if the grain mill works this today. And here we go. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Never works anymore. But that's okay, we came prepared because we know the drill now. We take a couple of cranks with our mash paddle and. No, hang on, give me a second. There we go. Nope. Hey, we got there. All right, it's all a part of the plan. Now that that's done, let's talk water chemistry. For a Kölsch, we're not really looking for anything particularly robust in the way of a water profile. We're more just trying to keep things in balance and give enough minerals there so that it holds the beer together, that there is a relatively medium-ish level of mineral content, but we're not really looking for any key standout compounds to top the charts. So what we're going to be running with is 55 parts per million of calcium, 5 of magnesium, 16 of sodium, 64 chloride, 67 sulfate, and 57 parts bicarbonate. The bicarbonate is there only because I'm not using RO water, so if you have the chance to, don't use bicarbonate. But the only thing here that is really important is that we're keeping a relative balance between the chloride and the sulfate. We're not looking to emphasize either maltiness or hop bitterness in this beer. We're just looking for balance with the water profile and a relatively medium amount of mineral content for that mouthfeel. All that being said, it's just a balanced profile. You can use whatever profile you want as long as it's looking at a balance between the sulfate and the chloride. Now we can start mashing in. Time to mash in. Today we are going to be doing a step mash. If you're not familiar with what a step mash is, I will promise to do a full video on this in a future date, but essentially we're just going to be doing 2 different temperatures to activate different enzyme activity. Your enzymes are the little things that are coming from the grains that are going to break down the sugars so that it's accessible by the yeast to actually ferment. Our first step is going to be at 64 degrees Celsius for half an hour. That is going to be our beta rest, where our beta amylase is going to get the most active to chop up our sugars into smaller sugars. And in our grains go. Now, again, a couple different ways that you can mash in with a beer. You could use a mash paddle, which would be the traditional way to do this. However, I am lazy, and because I'm lazy, I like to use technology. So, introducing the paint mixer. This is a paint mixer specifically designed for brewing by Kegland. If you want to check them out, there's a link down below with our affiliate program with them where we get a small kickback every time you use our link to make any purchases. Costs you nothing, but helps us out a whole lot so we can keep making videos like this on the channel. Now, let's mash in, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we expect from the grains in this beer. That is dough in finished. That was ridiculously easy with the paint mixer. And the big thing that I love about using the paint mixer is it is excellent at pulverizing dough balls, which is when you get a kind of a wet clump of dough on the outside, of grain on the outside with dry grain on the inside. Very common when you're mashing with the traditional method, but it's just not really an issue with the paint mixer. I'm gonna go ahead and throw our top screen on so I can start recirculating our wort. Don't have to recirculate wort, but it is useful to help increase your efficiency, and it clarifies the beer a little bit as well as the wort passes through the grain and it acts like a natural filter. Now, all that being said, let's talk about why I've chosen the grains that I have. First and foremost, that Bohemian Pilsner malt is Weyermann's traditional floor malted Bohemian Pilsner malt, which I think was just so fitting for a more traditional style of German beer, because you make or break this beer based on the quality of the grains. It's such a delicate style of beer where it's the subtle nuances and the subtle flavors that are carrying through. This isn't an IPA, this isn't a NEPA. We're not going balls to the wall with just a massive hop overload where we're punching it full of tropical flavors. We're going for a far more subdued and delicate style of beer. The Kölsch should be relatively light, it should be crisp, it should be easy drinking, it should have a nice light body but somewhat silky mouthfeel, and it should really showcase the biscuity nature, the delicate vanilla essence, and the, I guess, subtle nuttiness of a really well malted barley. That is what we're doing with this, and that Vienna malt coming in at 10% is just going to give us a bit of extra malty character, a little bit of extra sweetness, and that extra retention at the end of all of this alongside the Gladiator. So all that being said, I'm expecting this to showcase some beautiful German style characteristics coming from that really high quality grain. And based on my experience using that grain with the Czech Pilsner, link to that video right up there where we did a double decoction mash Czech Pilsner, I am very much looking forward to seeing what this beer produces, because I just know based off that high quality pale ale grains just are so superior to your stock standard bulk bought cheaper varieties. All that being said, now this is going to be a two-step mash. That first step, as I mentioned, is 30 minutes at 64 Celsius. After that, we are going to do another 30 minutes at 70 degrees Celsius, which is somewhere around 152 Fahrenheit, I think. Freedom units are showing up on screen now to prove me wrong. And the idea behind doing that is we're going to activate both of our primary enzymes, the beta amylase at the lower temp, the alpha amylase at the higher temp. That's going to really break down all the sugars that we can in this beer to make it a really dry, crisp finishing Kölsch. After all of that, there'll be a 77-degree mash out where we're going to kill that enzyme activity so we don't completely dry out our beer and end up with no head retention, no body at the end of it. That's all going to carry on automatically by the Brewzilla. We also did a full review on this particular model. If you're thinking of getting into this awesome world of brewing, link to that Brewzilla review up there. From here though, we're going to go ahead and let this mash and then come back at the end of that hour and 15. But before I let you go, it's worth pointing out that this recipe today is a recommendation from our Patreons. They've been asking us to do a Kölsch for so long now. For months and months, they've been asking for a Kölsch, and the weather in Australia is finally hot enough again to make a summer style of beer. So the Kölsch is here. If you want to have more of a say on the videos that are coming out on this channel, check out our Patreon in the link down below. Now, I'll see you when it's time for sparging. Mash out is finished and the sparging commences. If you're new to brewing, sparging is the act of running hot water over the top of your grain bed whilst that grain bed drains out the wort that you've been producing for the last hour or so of mashing. The reason we do this is because we have sugars that are still trapped in those grains even after that wort drains out, and by running the hot water over the top of the grain bed, we get a little more bang for buck and squeeze out those last few remaining sugars. It's also worth noting that I've adjusted the salt chemistry for my sparge water as well as the pH with some phosphoric acid. The full recipe though will be available in the link down below in the description of this video if you want to go and check out this recipe in your own time. From here, we're going to start working this thing up to a boil, and then we can start talking hops. We have reached our boiling point. So it's time to add our first round of hop additions. Today, we of course have to use noble hop varieties because we've got to go back to our roots and do this thing the right way. Seeing as it's a Kölsch, I am going to be leaning into a 28 gram / 1 ounce edition of, I'm going to try and say it, Hallertau Mittelfrüh. I think that's the correct pronunciation. Comment below if I'm wrong, or if there's any Germans in our audience. Let me know if I'm butchering your language. But noch sprechen Sie Deutsch, so apologies. In any case, this goes in. That's a 1 hour edition. That's going to give us 5.6 IBUs. We'll come back in 30 minutes from now for our next hop edition. Odin just said it's better late than never. He's shown up out of nowhere towards the very tail end of the brew day, but he's here now. All is not forgiven.
I was always coming.
He was late.
He was impatient.
He was late.
He was impatient.
It's our 30-minute hop edition, though, of the Kölsch. We are going to be running with 50 grams / 1.7 ounces of Tettnang and another 28 grams / 1 ounce of the Hallertau Mittelfrüh. In that goes, that is going to give us 9.3 IBUs. So slowly clocking our way up to a stronger finishing IBU count. It's really important to do those 30-minute editions. I didn't used to see the value in it, but since doing that Czech Pilsner a while back, I totally get why that exists now. It's just a way to add a little bit of extra hop flavor, but keep that IBU heading into a steady direction, because these German noble hops are just so low in alpha acid. In any case, we will come back to you when we have 10 minutes left to go, where we'll talk about our final hop edition for the day. We are at our final hop edition, which is going to be a 10-minute edition here of 50 grams / 1.7 ounces of Tettnang, 44 grams / 1.5 ounces of Hallertau Mittelfrüh. Into the boil it goes. Very nice. And again, those noble German hops are really going to shine at the forefront with this later hop edition. This is where the majority of that hop flavor is going to come from. And I'm expecting a lot of herbal qualities, a lot of floral character, and then a bit of earthiness and spice coming through with that combination. So together, I think it's going to give us quite a nice, quite complex beer when it comes to the subtler flavors coming from these hops. Again, this isn't balls to the wall IPA. This is a subtle, delicate dance of hops and malts working together. 10 minutes left on that, then we'll start cooling. We have finished our hour of power. Is that pumping through? It is, just struggling a bit because it's a little bit hot. So we're now going to start cooling this down. I'm going to try and get it as cold as possible because this is a German beer and I want to ferment it relatively cool. So I'm going to aim for 20 degrees Celsius if possible. That would be ideal. But what I did forget to say before was our final IBU count. So that last addition gave us another 5.5 IBUs, and we're going to finish on a grand total of 20 IBUs, which is a touch on the low side for a Kölsch. They can range between 20 to 30. I would have preferred it a bit higher, but I also didn't want to overload this thing too aggressively with hops. I did want this to still be in balance and be delicate and have all the flavors married together. So 20 IBUs is still a respectable number of bitterness going into this one. But from here, we'll come back to you once we are down at yeast pitching temp. It's now cooled down enough, and look at that hop break. I don't know how well you see this on camera. Maybe adjust the ISO because it's looking into the abyss. Oh, lovely. Aren't you so glad, guys, to have Odin back behind the camera? But the hot break there is incredible. It's so clear now, but it is time to transfer. So for the money shot. Nice. Now, after that's finished transferring, we'll talk about yeast. Getting yeasty. We are going to be running with Saf Ales K97. Two reasons why we're using this. One, it's very, very widely available. It's the reason we use a lot of Saf Ale stuff, because basically anybody in the world can get their hands on it, which is useful when you're making videos like this. But two, this is allegedly supposed to have a very nice balanced fruity profile. And this was a recommendation from one of our Patreons who went to a brewery, and apparently their yeast strain was quite similar to this one here and gave off nice citrusy esters, which I think would just be absolutely delightful in this fresh, easy drinking style of pale ale. So, fingers crossed for some nice esters to come through on this one. We are going to ferment at 17 degrees Celsius, that in freedom units, for I'm gonna say it's probably gonna take about a week to 2 weeks. Once we're kind of nearing final gravity, we'll do a diacetyl rest, bump up the temperature by 2 degrees for 2 days before moving on to a cold crash. That's it from us today. So next time you guys see me, we'll have a fresh stein. And here she is. I have to say that this is one of the prettier beers that I've made in quite a long time. The color is just so vibrant, so like sunlight yellow. It's like sunshine in a glass is what this is. But as for the stats, and yes, I know that this is not clear, and a true German Kölsch should be 100% clear after lagering for a while. Even though it's an ale, you kind of treat it like a lager and you let it get super crystal clear. This has literally just been poured straight out of the tank. I haven't even kegged it yet. But one thing I do have to note, that the color is fantastic. The clarity will improve over time. But what I'm loving is this head retention. It's so fluffy and just lingering. It hangs around for absolutely ages. It's like a big fluffy, frothy cloud. Very similar actually to the Czech Pilsner that we made on the channel a while ago. I can't remember if I've linked it in this video yet or not, but link to that up there if I haven't. That was a double decoction Czech Pilsner. Now, let's go in for the taste though. So good. Okay, I love that noble hop character coming through. It's a little bit floral, a little bit herbal, and it's got that lingering, I don't know what the right descriptor is here, but just classic beer flavor kind of thing on the back of the palate. It's like, I don't know, it's like there's the memes where brewers go, I want beer flavored beer. This is kind of what that is. It tastes like a classic old school beer before we got way too crazy with all the new worlds of hops and everything, which I love, but sometimes it's nice to go back to the classics. And this is exactly what that is. It's really drying on the mouth, very crisp finishing. So I totally get why this is just such a summer favorite. It absolutely quenches you and leaves you wanting another sip because of that mouth drying effect. As for the stats, it finished up at 5.5%, which is higher, much higher than I wanted for this beer, but I've never complained about a bit more booze in my glass. And 22 IBUs, which is I think on the slightly high to moderate side for a Kölsch, but I'm kind of digging it. I think a beer like this needs a bit of backbone bitterness to be that thirst quencher, to dry out the palate and to leave you wanting more. That's a really easy beer to drink. That body is so light, it's so easy, it doesn't sit in your gut. And it's just got that lightness to it that you just want to keep smashing down as the weather gets hotter and hotter. So I'm calling this a massive success. And this, by the way, was a huge Patreon vote. A lot of Patreons have been asking this for a long while. I think most recently and most avidly was requested by Johnny, if I'm not mistaken. Shout out to you, Johnny. We finally brewed this one for you. So if you guys want to have your vote on brewing, on what next beers we should be brewing, check out Patreon in the link down below so that you can get engaged with us and help dictate what videos we should produce on the channel. And now is as good a time as any to say thank you to our, whoa, I almost tripped. I've only had one beer, I promise. Thank you to our existing Patreons who are supporting us day in and day out on the channel and discussing all the behind the scenes stuff, helping us plan future videos and just giving us some great ideas. There's a couple that I definitely want to squeeze in either on this side of the year, maybe potentially next year. But I'm very, very much looking forward to brewing a few of those ideas that you guys have shared. I also do need to give you your hint for next brew day. We're heading into Christmas. I am going to say that the next beer to come out won't be the Christmas beer. It will be one before that. So your clue is going to be old school, classic German, sorry, not German, European is what I was meant to say. Old school, classic European, full of character, but extremely refreshing. That's a terrible clue. If I think of a better one, I'll drop a comment down below. But let me know what you think the next brew day is. Italian. There we go. There's your next clue. It's going to be an Italian variety. Let me know what you think it's going to be. Cheers, guys. We'll catch you later.